Okay, last video I did, or a while back, I showed this head, and I said I would show it again in a little more detail. And here it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is exactly what you would expect to see, this kind of little dimply looking stuff, because there's moisture in between tissues. There's little bags of fluids. And when they die, this is what happens. And that's the throat. I mean, I can't see anything that I could deny about this whatsoever. I would say this is real. No question in my mind. This could be looked at very closely, but unfortunately it was sold like the day after I learned about it, and I got another picture from the guy. I don't know if he wants his name said, but here's the other picture shown from the side. It looks like it has like 2 ears or 3 ears, or I don't know what's going on with that. But it almost looks like it has some kind of a spacesuit on, or I don't know whether it was chiseled out of a substrate or whatever it was. But that's, in my mind, there's just no way that could be fake. Now, I have another one that a friend of mine, she still has it, and it's this one here. And this, again, there's no way that this is fake. When you put moisture on these rocks, you get different textures. You see different textures. This is the muzzle from right here, right from there out, is a different material than the face. The eye is a different material, but you have to get it wet. If they're not wet, you don't see these things. You don't see those things when they're not wet, when they're dry. But when they are wet, you can see the blood and everything. The blood is still in there, and it rehydrates quickly and turns red. So you can see it. But if it's dry, very dry, you don't see it. I've been doing this a while now. Now, this is some kind of a bunched up carapace that I think might expand like a cobra head. Now, this belongs to Kim, a friend of mine. And you see, remember I said there's a beak? There's that beak. It's different. It's a little bit of a different texture. Just like my buddy here, Caesar Augustus. That's a goose. And that beak is in the microscope. When you get it wet, you can see the beak or bill, whatever it is. It's a little bit different substance than the others. This still has the feather pattern. You see the feathers? This particular type of nucleophilic invasion saved everything. I mean, flawlessly. Here's where the neck is. This side was flat. You see how flat it is? It was laying down like this. But you can actually still see where the throat would have been. You see it? Got to get it in the right light, because everything sort of was gushy at one time. It boiled. In this ocean that we were in, the whole world was basically boiling. And the creatures either dissolved and transitioned, or in certain places, like my place here, they just turned into stone. I mean, and crazy creatures, no toes. This is a foot. That's a foot from what you have to call, I call them no toes, because there's no toes in them. I drilled a hole in there to get some DNA, but can't get it tested. This is where the the fibula comes down. The tibula sits right here. There's a couple of hooks over here to keep it from pulling off this way. And then the fibula comes up this way. And that's where the crease in it, where it kept bending up and down. And there's springs inside here. I believe that's the pin that the springs ride on. You know, it looks like it has a soul on it, but it isn't. That's just a structure and I have a bunch of different ones. I have a bunch of different notos. So it's not like there's just a little bit of this around. There's just a ton of it around, and it just refused to be examined. Okay, my friends. So I always hear, is there life other than here on Earth? Is Earth the only place where there's life? And I have come to the conclusion, based on evidence, that that's not true. That life is everywhere. And this right here is some of the chemistry they found on asteroid Bennu. I'm going to show you about asteroid Bennu, and get ready, because this is going to be a shocker du jour. And the real shocker du jour is that why Trump hasn't jumped in on this and said, why are we spending all this money and you people can't get your heads around what you have in your hands? To spend the money, that's okay, as long as you're getting something out of it. When you get something out of it and can't accept it because it's too much, then that's a problem. Now here it is right here. This is just a month or so ago. The findings in Bennu's sample guarantees the results are true. It says the new work shows that asteroids really could have delivered all the ingredients necessary for life to Earth or to other bodies in the solar system like Mars, says Funarakwa. No, it's a piece of biology. It's a heart, my friends. All right, before I show you the heart samples and so forth, I want to show you what heart looks like. This is cardiac muscle. And it breaks in these little blocks called sarcomeres. And they bundle up and they just sort of go this way. They wrap around the heart, okay? And they're bundles, so there's no real straight lines to them. They sort of twist in and all like that. So if we cut this off right here, we'd be looking at a whole bunch of bundles all sort of entangled coming out. But we'd also see all these little blocks. Well, we do see that right here. These are the little blocks, and this is the rope-style bundles. Now, I'm going to get into this deep, I'm sure. So, because it's a heart in space, and they landed on it and came back, and it's been over 2 years, and there's no question what it is. They even just found this rubbery stuff, they call it gum. It's the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which gives you the pull. You know, it's a rubbery substance. They found 100% exactly identical to what heart sarcomeres are, because they are heart sarcomeres. And I'll explain everything, so just get ready. It's time that President Trump says, well, what's going on? Can't you guys make statements other than saying this could have been brought to Earth? This stuff is in space. Who put it in space? That's the kind of questions I want to answer. How did it get in space? And I think I have some answers based on some of the ancient texts that I've been investigating to try to support all this stuff. Because right now it's all supportable by the ancient texts and what we see in our faces. All right, this is the release just recently from NASA about their findings. The findings do not show evidence for life itself. They do suggest the conditions necessary for emergence of life were widespread. In other words, it was everywhere. But they say this was not actually the life. You can't prove it was life. It is just a broth of the compounds. That's just not true at all. It's not true whatsoever. He says this mission already is rewriting the textbooks. Well, they should rewrite them for honesty, I think. Don't forget, I'm saying it's a heart, and it has all these valves just like this, just like Psyche has. And it's from a heart. And this is the one they landed on. And these are the valves. There's a whole batch of valves right at the top. And that's all ripped off now down to the valves. And they came back with the sample, which is this. Now, I want somebody to tell me in the comments whether or not they believe this indicates it's a heart, and it is a heart. You would believe that. Would the average person believe that this is a heart? That's all. The average person, just like in a court of law, is a preponderance of evidence showing that this came back from a heart. And I think there's, well, see what you find. They went up and landed on this Bennu, which is an asteroid, and they popped down, grabbed a chunk of stuff, and came back to Earth with it. And here's what they came back with. This is a membrane, and then below that is the muscle sarcomeres. These are bundles of muscle, corded cardiac muscle. They first went through the membrane to get down to it. They must have hit it pretty hard. And these are the actual sarcomeres, which are the muscle sarcomeres. Phosphate surprise, or every single biology that you can think of is there. RNA, DNA, 100%. Not only that, they just found the gum, which is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Don't forget, we went through the membrane, we get down in and grab the muscle. This is what the corded cardiac muscle looks like when you cut it like this. Now, when you look at it down on its side, when you look at it in pieces, there's blocks. That's how muscles work. They're going to be block, 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 block. So you can see this piece, and we see it all over. This is all muscle bundles. And these are the sarcomeres. Now, in a heart patient here on Earth, these are the sarcomeres. Same thing. Same chemistry, too. And this, what they brought back, has all of the same biology as well. It has literally everything that you would have in the human body. And the fibers are these fibers right here. This is a cardiac muscle. They're all intertwined like this, and they're all these little blocks. Just what I showed you a minute ago. This is what they brought back. This is not me. This is them. They brought this back. You have to go through a membrane to get into the heart. So you got your heart here, and everything's coated with a membrane. So they had to go through the membrane, which is here. They went, grabbed a chunk of muscle, which is here, and a bunch of little scraps. They had a whole bunch of stuff. You know, it was done well. You know, they got exactly what they wanted, and here's what it is. It's a heart. These are the valves of a heart. A heart has a whole batch of little, well, they're good size. And that thing twists and just like that and pumps blood all over. And you got like 4 or 5 good-sized valves. And then, well, I'll show you some other stuff about this. This is, they just, for 2 years, over 2 years, they've had that stuff back here on Earth. And they just can't deal with the fact that it was a heart in space. Now, this is the one that just came back from with all the stuff. This is Bennu. And these are where the valves are over the top here. And this is what they look like in a regular heart. Just like that. And the top comes off because of iron banding. And they're going to another one called Psyche. They're headed there right now. And they're showing it Psyche as nothing but basically metal. There's a ton of metal in blood. There's a ton of metal in blood. All right, so these are the valves. And they pop right off at the top, break right off there, because there's just a gooey substance, literally gluing that plumbing down to a pulsating heart. Glued, and they break right off there, basically, which is what happened here. And Psyche is, this is Psyche. Now, this thing is huge, and they're on their way there right now. This is not a crater. That's a tube coming out of there. This is a heart. And these colors are the oxidation states of blood. The black, the red, the yellow. This right here is the tendon investment into the body, and around that wraps the muscle. So it has to attach somewhere, and that's where it attaches. And on a regular heart, it's right here. See that? It's right there, and right below it is where the heart valves come in. And through that gooey stuff. The gooey stuff and all that just goes away. It's just basically glued on there, literally. And that just broke off and shows where the tendon attaches here. And there's the heart valves. Now this thing is absolutely ginormous. It's 140 miles across. 140 miles. I didn't put it out there, but I'm going to tell you something. As far as I'm concerned right now, there is not a single thing that is in the universe that I can find that isn't from biology. Even the sun has the same exact chemistry as we have. I think I already told you, they think a piece of the sun broke off and made the Earth because it's got the same chemistry. And it's cooking in space, the sun. And what the sun is doing is it's throwing off all these polycyclic hydrocarbons into space, where it scrubs its outer atmosphere with space's atmosphere. And it's got to scrub its way through. When it does, it's heating it up. Millions of degrees out here. Millions. 10,000 on the sun. Do you hear what I'm saying? 10,000. That's like cold compared to here. This is millions. Explain to me how it got so hot from here to here. There is no other explanation. It's the scrub, the friction. It's a magnetic field friction, primarily. Well, actually, I can show you. And this is, the Earth does the same thing. They don't, we're not that close that we interact that much, I don't think. But it's, the coronas, I don't know how far they put it out there, but it's a ways out from the sun, but not close to our atmosphere, I don't think. We have to look into that. All right, you don't hear this often talked about, but here's what they say. They compare the solar, which is the sun, basically, and the terrestrial, which is the Earth, the elemental compositions, which are what they're made of. And they show that the sun and Earth share the same elemental abundances. We're basically the same thing. So here's what their conclusion is, and that the Earth is a devolatilized, it's not smoking, piece of the sun left over from the sun's formation. So they think the sun just popped out there for some reason, and then a chunk of it came off and became the Earth. Chemically, Earth is basically a less volatile version of the sun. We're made of the same elements. I say everything was alive. Everything there is was alive. And I think now it seems to me they are all made of the same elements. And they just came back from Bennu, which is 100%, no question whatsoever. It's a heart in space. One more thing I don't think I mentioned before, but in these muscles, you have what's called a sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarcomeres are the pinchers. And you have this gum, this is goo. They just announced a couple of days ago, well, we found this gum in there. And they found all the amino acids and all that. I mean, it's exactly identical to human chemistry. Those codes don't just fall into place accidentally. And the anatomy is, it just can't be denied. This is the same as this. These rope muscles are the same as the rope muscles that came off of here. The rope muscles and the sarcomeres are the same as the sarcomeres. You can't, there's just no denying it. With the chemistry the way it is, and now they just found the gum, which is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. There's nothing that they haven't found. And I can guarantee you, if they put some, if they did the catalase test on there, they're going to find out there's catalase, and where they're going to find it is going to be right in this membrane. Membranes are loaded with catalase, and I'm sure they'll find catalase in here. They found every bit of chemistry, 100%. RNA, the DNA, amino acids, everything, 100%. And now the sarcoplasmic reticulum, they look exactly like hearts. They are, because they are hearts. And this one here, it still has tubing coming out of it. Now the one that they went to is here, but you can see these are the valves. These are the valves. You got a whole batch of valves that sit on the top, and they direct all that blood around your body. And here's those valves right there. So, and that's, we just paid billions of dollars to do that, and they've been sitting on it for a couple of years. They just can't, they won't fess up to it. It changes everything. Now, that's not the only thing that's in space that was biology. Everything there is in space, as far as I'm concerned, is biology. This is Comet 67P. It's a hip joint. And it smokes off right out of the vein, right out of the artery. And it's got all the tendons and all the stuff. It's a hip joint. There it is right here. They break off right here sometimes, or here, or here. That one broke off out here. So that is also smoking off gases. Even iron meteorites, they call them iron. They're not necessarily iron. They're all the metals that are in blood. And primarily it's iron, because your blood is primarily iron. So you end up with this, but there's a red spot of blood. And also the black is down here, which is the vein. So you got vein and you got artery. And these are all the different types. This right here is a little tiny lung. And it's also smelted off to a point where it's magnetic. And the little alveoli holes in there have blown out. And I've done catalase tests on this, and this thing, it still has catalase in it, which is the enzyme. So when they're small like this, they don't heat up so much as the big ones. This one just turned into one big glob of metal. But it still has your vein and your artery deep inside. You can see them. Here's what it looks like in its completeness. But you still got vein and artery in there. And you can see on the edges. This, what we're looking at here is the universe is filled with biology. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. The astronauts say they walk out in their spacesuits and they come back in, the suits smell like steak. The sun is giving off the same molecules as the Earth is. All of this stuff is just not even talked about because there's nothing they can't say it. And then you see things like this. Look at the size of this thing. Now that's probably sarcomeres. It might be tendon. But because they're very similar in some places in the body. Like this right here, I believe is tendon. And the different colors indicate different types of collagens. There's 28 different types of collagen. And inside each tendon, it has all these different capabilities of stretchy and pulley and strong. And all of those can happen within the same tendon. All right, so don't forget, it's not just a broth, it's a heart. The findings do not show evidence for life itself. Yes, they absolutely do. They brought back heart sarcomeres. The bundle shows here, the sarcomeres here, it's the phospholipid membranes, the phosphate surprise they called it. It is what it is, and it is definitely anatomically correct, chemically correct. You can't deny it. And it's here in our hands. And I'm sure if they did a catalase test on this, they would find there's catalase in here as well. I think it's time to really speak about this openly and not deny this. For 2.5 years this has been going on. They know everything's here. Bioessential, everything from samples from asteroid Bennu. It's all here. But they just cannot accept the fact of this giganticness. We live in a realm that was talked about long ago. We thought it was mythology. It's not all mythology, my friends.